I used to mop my floors every single Saturday like clockwork, dragging out the bucket, the mop, the cleaning solution, spending nearly an hour on my knees in some spots trying to get stubborn marks out of the grout. And yet, by Wednesday, my floors already looked dull again, covered in a fine layer of dust and grime that made the whole week's effort feel almost pointless. Then I visited my friend Aiko's apartment in Yokohama and noticed something that genuinely stopped me in my tracks. Her floors looked freshly cleaned, but she casually mentioned she hadn't mopped in nearly 2 weeks. I assumed she was joking, or that she had some secret cleaning service I didn't know about. Instead, she showed me a method so different from everything I'd been taught about floor care that I had to completely rebuild my understanding of what actually keeps floors clean long-term. This isn't about a fancy new mop or an expensive cleaning solution. It's about 6 specific practices that address why floors get dirty in the first place, rather than just repeatedly treating the symptom after the damage is already done. The first thing Aiko explained was almost embarrassingly simple, yet it was something I'd never properly implemented despite hearing about it before. Nothing from outside ever touches her floors directly. Shoes come off completely at the entrance. Every single time, no exceptions made for quick trips inside or just grabbing something real fast. But she took this further than I expected. She also kept a small basket of clean, dedicated indoor socks right by the door for guests who arrived in socks that had already touched outside pavement through open sandals or thin-soled shoes. The logic here addresses something most of us never think about. A huge percentage of what makes floors look dirty isn't visible dirt tracked in by shoes, it's actually invisible bacteria, oils, and fine particulate matter that transfers from socks and bare feet that have technically touched outside surfaces at some point during the day. By treating the entrance as a genuinely sealed barrier rather than a loose suggestion, she was preventing contamination before it ever had the chance to reach her floors in the first place. I implemented this immediately, adding a small basket of clean socks by my own door, and within 2 weeks, I noticed my floors staying visibly cleaner for significantly longer between cleanings, simply because less was actually reaching them to begin with. Here's where Aiko's method genuinely diverged from everything I thought I knew about mopping. She explained that most people make one critical mistake. They go straight to wet mopping without properly dry cleaning first, which means they're essentially just pushing dry dust and debris around in wet, muddy streaks rather than actually removing it. Her sequence was strict and specific. Dry sweep or dry mop first, using a microfiber dry mop that traps fine dust through static rather than pushing it around, covering every single inch of the floor before any water ever touches the surface. Only after this dry pass is completely finished does she move to wet cleaning. And even then, she uses significantly less water than I was accustomed to using. Understanding that excess water actually attracts more dust once it dries, creating a sticky residue that grabs onto airborne particles faster than a properly dry floor would. This 2-stage approach means her wet mopping is actually cleaning already clean floors of only the finest residual dust, rather than trying to wet mop through visible debris, which explains why her results looked so much more polished than mine, despite using less water and, honestly, less overall effort. Try this yourself. Dry sweep or dry mop completely before ever introducing water, and notice how much more effective your actual wet cleaning becomes as a result. I nearly laughed when Aiko told me that the direction you mop actually matters, assuming this was some kind of superstition or old wives' tale rather than practical advice. But she explained the actual mechanics behind it. Mopping in random, circular, or back-and-forth motions across the same area repeatedly just redistributes dirty water rather than actually removing it, since the mop essentially drags contaminated water back over sections you'd already supposedly cleaned. Her method involves mopping in long single-direction strokes, always moving toward the same endpoint, typically toward a door or drain, and never doubling back over an area you've already covered with the same section of mop. This means changing or rinsing the mop head far more frequently than most people do, treating each pass almost like a one-time wipe rather than reusing the same dirty water and cloth section repeatedly across an entire room. It sounds almost excessively meticulous, but the actual time cost is minimal once you build the habit. And the difference in how genuinely clean the floor feels afterward, rather than just visually clean, is significant. Try mopping in one consistent direction during your next cleaning session, rinsing your mop head more frequently than feels necessary, and notice whether your floors feel different underfoot afterward. Perhaps the habit that made the most lasting difference was something Aiko called simply Ichi-Fuki, meaning roughly one wipe. A tiny daily practice that takes less than 90 seconds but completely changes how floors accumulate grime over time. Every evening, before bed, she runs a slightly damp microfiber cloth or a dry mop over just the highest traffic areas of her home. The entryway, the path directly in front of the kitchen sink, the area right beside the couch, not the entire floor, just the specific zones that see the most daily contact. This isn't a substitute for actual mopping. It's a maintenance practice that dramatically extends the time between full cleanings by preventing daily grime from ever settling in and building up into something more stubborn. High traffic zones accumulate dirt exponentially faster than the rest of a floor, which means most of your floor's visible dullness actually comes from a small percentage of total surface area getting neglected repeatedly between cleanings. By addressing just these specific zones daily, in under 2 minutes total, the rest of your floor stays comparatively cleaner by default, and your actual deep cleaning sessions become dramatically less demanding since you're never dealing with weeks of compounded grime in the busiest sections. Try identifying your own 3 highest traffic zones and giving them this quick daily wipe before bed tonight. The final piece of Aiko's method addressed something I genuinely never considered. How floors dry after cleaning matters almost as much as how they're cleaned in the first place. She explained that closing up a room immediately after mopping, trapping humidity with closed windows and doors, actually encourages floors to dry slowly and unevenly, which allows any residual dirty water to settle back into grout lines, wood grain, or tile texture rather than evaporating cleanly away. Her practice involves opening windows immediately after mopping, even briefly during colder months, allowing genuine airflow to move through the space and encourage rapid, even drying. She also avoids walking on freshly mopped floors until they're completely dry, understanding that foot traffic on damp floors reintroduces oils and dirt from feet or socks directly into the wet surface, essentially undoing much of the cleaning that was just accomplished. This final step costs nothing beyond a few minutes of patience and an open window, yet it determines whether all your previous careful effort actually holds or simply gets undone within minutes of finishing. Try leaving a window cracked and staying off your floors completely until fully dry during your next cleaning session, and notice whether your floors stay visibly cleaner for longer as a direct result. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. And if there's a cleaning topic or home habit you'd like me to cover next, let me know in the comments.